Hey. So I wanted to make a quick video about the slow car bug in Rocket League because there's a lot of discussion about whether or not it's even real. And I think it's definitely 100% real, but I don't think it's a bug. So just real quick, when I first started playing the game, I was playing on the Xbox and, you know, I was brand new. I wasn't mechanical at all. And eventually, I, for whatever reason, decided to play it on my PC. And I think at the time I was plat 3 or something. I kind of knew how to aerial. That was, I guess, probably it. Like, I could half flip. That's kind of where I was at mechanically. And some of the mechanics that I was trying to learn at the time, it just felt really hard, and I wanted to try it on my PC. I did, and dude, for my mechanics, it made a really big difference. And I think the things that I'm going to talk about here, I feel like honestly made a bigger difference, or not, maybe not bigger, but at least the same difference as switching from console over to PC. And this was only a day ago, by the way, that I figured this out. And I feel like some of what I'm going to say is actually pretty obvious. The first thing, just to get right out of the way, the first thing is controller. So real quick, this shot, I got a, what is this, a GameSir G7 Pro, and it's plugged in. I think that part's important. It's plugged in. It is hardwired to the back of my PC via USB. This is the first shot that I made with it. Now, this isn't a crazy shot, but it felt so good. It felt so good, and usually when you get a new controller, or you try out, at least in my case, if I try out a PlayStation controller, it's like the time it takes to adapt to even just the feel of that new controller is crazy. But with this, the input lag difference, I think probably mainly of honestly having it plugged in rather than Bluetooth was insane. I have also tried this controller using the little 2.4 gigahertz dongle, and it feels better than Bluetooth, but it's noticeably different. It's actually kind of disorienting immediately changing it. 100% the way to go is wired. So even if you are using an Xbox controller or something, plug it in. I really think you're going to be surprised by how much different it feels for you. Something else to consider, but I don't know how valuable this is because I haven't tested it, is polling rates. So I guess you could kind of think of it like DPI, but that's not really maybe accurate. The Xbox controller, I think, has a polling rate of 125 hertz. The PS4 controller, which I know is popular with Rocket League, is 250, so that's a big difference there. There's a lot of controllers, though, like the GameSir, where they're 1,000 hertz. So it's going to feel snappier, more responsive. And so it's hard for me to say whether plugging it in is the huge difference. I think it is, but polling rate is going to play some kind of role here. If you're on PS4 controller, I don't know that going to a 1,000 hertz is going to be a big difference, but I feel like 125 is pretty low, and in most games, I don't care that much. Like, I've never even noticed this input lag I'm talking about in another game, to be quite honest with you. Rocket League's kind of like the game, for me at least, where very precise differences in input can make a really big difference. The second thing, so that first one's by far the most important. Second thing, there's actually a setting or a configuration dial here, option, that by default will give you 1 frame of input lag 100% of the time, unless you manually go in here and turn this off. So here's the path: Documents, My Games, Rocket League, TAGame, and then Config. Real quick, I don't know if this setting reverts automatically. So what I would do is once you navigate to this folder here, before you go into the config folder, right-click on the config folder and press Pin to Quick Access. This will make it so that anytime you open up File Explorer, it's over here to the left. So you can come back, revisit this, check on it. So in this config folder, TA System Settings, if you open this up, it should open it up in Notepad. And if you press Control F, you will get this search option. Type in 1 frame, no spaces, 1 is spelled out, is not the number, and then press enter. You will find this line right here: 1 frame thread lag equal false, but by default it'll say equals true. This literally just adds 1 frame of input lag. That's it. That is what this does. I'm sure there's a reason for this. I would imagine that it probably has to do with weaker PCs, but if you're able to run this game fine, set that to false. You definitely do not need that at all. The other thing I would say is network. This one's a little harder, especially if you're like living with your parents or something and you're requesting to change out the router. But I was using a Spectrum default router, and I had noticed that after a couple of hours of it being powered on, the speeds would go down, but rebooting the modem wouldn't help. It was only restarting the router that would help with the speeds, and I think it had like a memory leak problem or something. That could make a difference. It made a really big difference for me. I just hit a psycho. Made a really big difference for me. I noticed the difference there. If you have a network problem going on, even if it's not ping, if it's packet loss, that will actually give you some input lag. So if you notice that when you're in free play you don't have input lag, and then you're in a game and you do, it's probably your router. Maybe it's your actual internet service, but in my case, it was the router. The last thing I would say is the software running in the background on your PC. This, I feel like, is a pretty obvious one, but for me specifically, the NVIDIA app was making a big difference. Having that running in the background definitely slowed me down. It seems a lot less the case now, having my controller plugged in, but when I was using wireless, for some reason it seemed to make a pretty noticeable difference. I'm sure it's still making a difference now when it's running, but it's just so much better than it was before because my controller is wired. So that's one thing. If you're streaming in Discord, that could make a difference. Having Discord open, if you have the overlay on, could make a difference. If you're playing on Steam, actually this is something to think about. Hold on. If you're playing on Steam, let me show you. If you're playing on Steam, if you right-click on Rocket League and then hit Properties and then Controller, make sure you have Disable Steam Input selected here. This is a per game thing, so you have to go Rocket League, right-click, Properties, Controller, disable the Steam input. If you have Steam input turned on, depending on what kind of controller you're using, or maybe it's actually just in general, it will do this. It's going to add a transition, or not a transition. It's going to add a translation layer on. And I mean, I don't know how much input lag that is going to give you, but if you're translating inputs, just objectively speaking, there's going to be some layer of input lag there. So by far, the biggest thing here is going to be controller. Plug it in. That by itself is going to make a massive difference. Make sure you plug it into the rear USB panel on your PC, just so you know for sure that you're getting the full power at all times and you're not getting eco throttled or something by Windows. It's going to make a big difference. Yeah, hopefully that helps. Let me know if it does. For me, again, it's been genuinely a very big difference. I'm way more consistent than I was, and I feel kind of goofy because this whole entire time I could have just plugged my controller in. I know it's common for people to have their controllers plugged in anyway. I know it's not that big of like a revelation, but I just figured it couldn't have been the reason for it, because every once in a while my game would actually feel fine. But worst case scenario now, like I have that setting for the 1 frame. I have that on. I have every program that slows me down open. I'm recording. I'm also streaming on Discord. If I'm doing all of that now, my worst case scenario now is still better than what my best case scenario was wirelessly. So hopefully that helps. Feel free to let me know if you have any questions, and I'll be happy to try to help you out. Alright, well, thanks for watching. Feel free to sub, feel free to like, spread the word, and have a good day. Also, I'm looking for somebody to carry me to SSL, so if you want to do that, hit me up.